today's lecture. Let us start with the actual syllabus, that is digital design and HDL subject. So the first unit is an introduction to EDA tool and VHDL programming. As we have discussed a little bit what is mean by EDA tool and what is HDL. So in continuation with that we are going to start now. So this is the syllabus of your first unit, that is introduction to EDA tool and VHDL programming. And in that we are going to discuss about VHDL, then design flow of VHDL programming, after that EDA tools, library declaration, then library declaration, entity, architecture, after that what are the different data types, then concurrent code, sequential code, delays, architecture modeling, after that different components, then generate different libraries, IEEE standard logic, packages, generic functions, procedures, operating overloading and asset. All these contents that we are going to discuss in this unit. Okay? And books to be referred for this is a Circuit Design and Simulation with HDL, Volney, Pedroni by Prentice Hall. This is a very good book in which he has precisely described about all about VHDL programming. So you can refer this book for the first two units. Then Fundamentals of Digital Logic Design with HDL by Brown Brunswick. Then after that there is a one more book which is Digital System Design using VHDL, Charles Roth. Okay. So these are the three books. Now if you have seen Google Sheet which is shared with you, or one learning material sheet shared with you, in that you will find PDF of all these books. Okay. So go through all these books, you can download that books and then you can read that books. Now, as per our policy, let us see what is about the title of this chapter. Okay. Now, as this title suggests that it is nothing but the introduction to EDA tool and VHDL programming. So, in this unit, we are going to introduce ourselves with different EDA tools, and we are going in details about basics of VHDL programming. So, we are going to learn basic concepts of VHDL programming in this unit. Then, if we look for the central idea of this chapter, actually whenever we are going to design any digital system, that time it becomes little bit complex if the system is big one. Okay, and that is why certain automation tool that must be known, and for VLSI, VHDL is this electronic design automation tool, and that is why we are going to introduce the basics of VHDL programming in this subject. Now, what is the importance of this chapter? As this chapter introduces basics of VHDL programming, that means what are the different constants, how they are defined in VHDL programming, what are the different data types, what are the different types of signals, how they are defined in VHDL programming, that will be learned in this unit. And that is why you will be able to write entity and architecture, which are the main parts of VHDL programming after learning this, and that's why you will be able to design VLSI system using VHDL programming. And that is the importance, as we are electronics engineer, and that is why we are dealing with lot many circuits. So lot many transistor, and if we are designing it through VLSI, so complexity of the circuit or we can minimize that circuit, and that is why this is important. what you are going to learn after this chapter. Okay. So at the end of this chapter, you will be able to understand what is VHDL design flow, how to write entity in VHDL programming, how to write architecture in VHDL programming, or all that you will learn. And also you will learn what are the different types of data types, what are different types of constant, signals, what is generics defined in VHDL programming. So all that basics that you will know when you learn this chapter, and after that you will be able. Hello.
Hello.
Huh?
Ma'am.
So as I was discussing about the chapter outcomes, so here at the end of this chapter you will be able to write VHDL programs for basic circuits, okay, and after that we are going for the writing programs for combinational and sequential logic circuits. So here in this unit we are going to discuss about basics of VHDL programming. What is mean by VLSI? As we discussed earlier, what is mean by VLSI? What is VLSI? So, it is the process of integrating number of transistors in a small tiny silicon chip. So that means when we are considering VLSI systems, number of transistors that we can fabricate on a single chip, that are around 10 lakhs, okay, and for ultra large scale integration we can do more than that also. Now, how we are designing, when we are going to design this VLSI system on a single chip, we are going to perform n number of logical operations, okay. So here when we are going to design complex VLSI chip, okay, which is going to perform lot many functions, so how you will design it? What you will use for this? Okay. One thing that we can do is we can have programmable logic devices which will offer a practical way of implementing large and complex digital system on IC chip. Now if we require that system in a large quantity, then it may have become more economical to develop optimized system, and for that purpose we need to have a system which is dedicated to that particular application. Now in chip implementation, which is for such a optimized system, that is called as a application specific integrated circuit. Okay, that means for designing any complex system we require programmable logical device, and then when we are having it for particular system, that is if it is a optimized solution, then we have a product which is nothing but application specific integrated circuit. Now for both this we need to have certain sophisticated electronic design automation. That means as the system becomes complex, it will not be feasible to draw that circuit, as well as it will not be possible to build it on a breadboard. So that means we require certain automation solution, and here as we are designing electronic system, so we require electronic design automation. Now this is nothing but a electronic computer aided design. Now whenever we are going for this electronic design automation tools, we have to go on.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes. Hello. This is the transformation of the EDA design tool. Now you must have designed certain circuits in multisim or protis, isn't it? So that is also a electronic design automation tool which is related with the analog circuits, or there you also can design digital circuits also, but that is just at the circuit level. Okay, so if you are going for MPLAB, so it will perform the uh, simulation regarding microprocessor or microcontrollers. So these are also electronic design automation tools. But as we are now going to consider about VLSI, so we are going to discuss about automation tools regarding VLSI, and VHDL is the one programming language which is served or which is given by so many electronic design automation tools. So now we are going to discuss about VHDL programming and related EDA tools. So let us first have VHDL introduction. So what is meant by VHDL? What is long form of VHDL? VHDL, it is nothing but very high speed integrated circuit hardware description language. Actually, it is a basic hardware description language. V for very, H that is for high, S for speed, I for integrated, and C for circuits. So that means VHDL is nothing but basic very high speed integrated circuit hardware description language. Now, what is meant by hardware description language? What is meant by hardware description language? Yes, it is the language which describes working of hardware. That is a hardware description language, HDL. So we are going to now study about VHDL, which is related with VLSI systems. Now this was first initiated, development of this language was initiated in 1980s by American Defense Department for standardized method of describing electronic system. Then after that there was so many inventions or so many modifications in between these from 1980s to 1987 in this VLHI programming, and then in 1987 it was standardized by IEEE in the reference manual by the name of IEEE VHDL language reference manual, draft standard version, that is 1076/B, and it was ratified in December 1987 as a standard IEEE 1076-1987. So this was the history regarding VHDL programming. Now let us see what is the motivation for VHDL. Why there was development of such a language for digital systems? Because as the digital system complexity that is continuing to increase, as we are embedding so many circuits, so many processes in an integrated circuit, and that is why complexity of that system that is increasing. Now that because of that there is no possibility of building that circuits on a breadboard. Now you are using breadboards in your labs. Okay, you must have seen what is the complexity increases or how complexity increases when circuit becomes bigger and bigger. Okay, so connections and all that increases. Okay, also number of chips that may increase, that are increasing, the number of components that are increasing, and then whenever we are connecting all these components with each other, the length of the interconnects that is also increasing, and that is why it leads towards the development of such a system or such a programming language which can simulate not only just logic but also it will help for the timing analysis also. So VHDL language, it analyzes timing responses of that system also. So that is why there is a development on this language. Now let us say why to use VHDL. Okay, so can anybody tell me why to use VHDL? का जायचं आपण या लँग्वेजकडे? One thing is that it is quick time to market. Okay, so that means it is available in market, and it allows designers to quickly develop designs requiring tens of thousands logic gates. So n number of transistors that can be used by designer to develop a system. Another advantage of this is it provides powerful high-level constructs for describing complex logic. Also, it supports modular design methodology and multiple levels of hierarchy. So, that is why there is a use of VHDL. Again, it is the one language which can do design as well as simulation. Also, it allows creation of device independent designs that are portable to multiple vendors. So, it is good for ASIC migration. Application specific designs you can do with VHDL, because suppose some vendor has its design and then we can combine it with this packaging also, and then we can have a application specific IC. So again, it allows user to pick any synthesis tool, vendor or device. So that is also one more advantage of VHDL programming. Now let us discuss about basic features of VHDL. So VHDL programming, the first basic feature of this is a concurrency. Now what is meant by concurrency? Now in typical languages such as C++ or Visual Basic, the code is executed in sequential manner. So it follows the order of the statements in the source file. So whatever is the order of statement, depending on that only code is executed. But in VHDL architecture, there is no specified order in the assignment of statements. This means that if you exchange the order of two assignments, then the result will be same. Okay? So for example, if we say that if we have output from any gate, okay, suppose we are going to consider it is the output of OR gate, and that output is given to two more logic circuits. Okay? So we will call that two logic circuits as a process 1 and process 2. So the same output is from the OR gate to these process 1 and process 2. So if we assign process 1 as a first and 2 as the second, it will give the same output as if we are assigning process 2 as the first one and process 2 as the second one. That means even though we interchange or exchange the order of these assignments, the result is going to remain same. Okay? So that is the first feature of VHDL programming. Then it supports sequential statements. So again, it also supports, that means with a concurrency, it also supports sequential statements. That means if they are in the flow, okay, we need to have continuous execution of the statements, then also it is possible in a VHDL. So that means concurrent statement as well as sequential statements that can be supported in VHDL programming. Also, it supports test and simulation. That means we can test our circuits as well as we can simulate our circuits. So that is the one more thing or one more feature of VHDL programming. Then next is that it is a strongly typed language. That means It is a language in which variables are bound to specific data types. It will result in error if types do not match up as expected in the expression. Okay? So, in C or C++, it is a weakly typed language. In that, even though if we are wrong in defining the data type, it will give certain results. That may be wrong results, but they will give results. But in a VHDL programming, we need to specify exact data types for this each variable. Okay, and then only we will get the results. Then it supports hierarchies. So that means from top to bottom or bottom to top, or hierarchies that are supported by VHDL. Also it supports mixed hierarchy also. So that is one more good feature of VHDL programming. Then it supports for vendor defined libraries. Now inbuilt libraries that are present in VHDL programming, but at the same time if there is certain vendor defined libraries, then that also are supported by VHDL programming. And then it supports multi-valued logic. That means if the logic levels are multi-valued, then that also supported by VHDL programming. See about levels of presentation and abstraction. Okay. Now a digital system that can be represented at different levels of abstraction. Okay. So this keeps the description and design of complex system manageable. Okay. So if we are abstracting a digital system at different levels, then that will be easier to understand. So here in this figure you can see there are three different levels of abstraction. One is the behavioral, which is regarding algorithmic as well as data flow, and then structural, which is components or it is related with the interconnections, and then physical abstraction level, that is nothing but a implementation level. Now the highest level of abstraction, that is a behavioral, okay, which it describes a system in terms of what it does or how it behaves. That means whatever is the behavioral, okay, or what are the specifications that we need to implement, that will be decided by this behavioral abstraction level. Okay. Rather than in terms of components and interconnection between them, it defines about how it behaves. Okay. So a behavioral description specifies relation between the input and output. So here how output is going to be there depending on input, so that will be specified in this. Now this could be any Boolean expression or more abstract description of a system. That means if we have two inputs, suppose A and B. So here in this block you can see that this inputs A and B that are added together, that means there will be a ORing function. Okay. So output will be equal to A or B. So that can be expressed by Boolean expression in the behavioral abstraction level. Okay. And then in the structural levels, it describes a system as a connection of gate components. So here this system behavioral abstraction level that describes about the all the gates that are connected with each other to perform desired function. Now here as output is equal to A plus B, that means now as here it is shown certain another circuit, but here we can show it with just a single OR gate, that is having two inputs A and B. Okay. For the complex circuits it may go on number of gates that may be increased. Okay. So this structural component, structural abstraction level, that is a representation that is usually closer to physical realization of a system. Okay. So how So actually your system will look like that will be represented by structural abstraction level. And then one more abstraction level, that is a physical level, which is nothing but the actual implementation. So it will have both the inputs from behavioral abstraction level as well as structural abstraction level. That means if whatever code we are writing, that will comes under behavioral abstraction level, then at synthesis level we will go for the structural abstraction level, and both these can be combined to get a physical implementation of this IC. Okay. Now here in the behavioral level, it is further divided into two types. One is the data flow and another one, that is the algorithm. So here this data flow that represents, or it describes how data moves from the system to this system. So how it is going to be at the output level, that is shown in this behavioral level with the data flow. So VHDL's programming language that supports both these behavioral as well as structural abstraction levels of VLSI implementation. Move towards what is the VHDL design flow. So after looking for the history and different features of VHDL programming, we are now moving towards the VHDL design flow. So here in this diagram you can see a simplified view of design flow. Now the first thing is that we assume that designer already has set of specification for which circuit should be generated. That means in the first step here you will have the specifications already with you, and then you are going to generate its IC. Okay, so you are going to have a digital system in an integrated form. So the first thing is that we are assuming that you have the specifications. Then after that there will be the step in which you have to write a VHDL code that fulfills such specifications. Okay, so whatever are the specifications, you have to fulfill it with the VHDL code, and then this code is compiled using synthesis tool. Okay, so here this code is compiled with the synthesis tool, and then several files are generated during this compilation process. So RTL code, then functional netlist, so that files are generated with this simulation or this compilation. Then the synthesizer breaks down the code into hardware structures, and that are available with the chosen device. So during fitting, that is a place and a route each structure. After that, this positional information is important. Okay, how to place and how to route all these components, that positional information, that is important, so that it will be easier to understand what will be the resulting circuit, okay, and what will be the timing behavior, that also could be understood with this. Okay. Now with this timing information, so here after analysis and synthesis, you will have to place and route all these components properly, so that you can go for the next step, that is the timing analysis. Okay. So with the timing information generated by the fitting process, so here after that there will be a timing netlist that will be generated. The software will allow the circuit to be fully simulated. Okay. So you will get a file which can be fully simulated with simulation as well as the test bench. Okay. And then after that once you get all the specifications that to be made, then design can proceed for the final step, that is the implementation step. Okay. So here during this programming file for the device or the masks, okay, if you are going to have multiple copies of that design, then masks need to be generated, and for that it is generated. Okay. And so here you can have the finalized integrated circuit at the output. Okay. So this is about the VHDL design flow. So now we are just going to learn about this VHDL code in this unit. Okay. So after that we will proceed further, but right now our main aim to write VHDL code depending on the specifications given. Okay. So we are going to deal with this. Actually, this is the first step after knowing the specifications. So we are going to deal with this step. Now, as we are going to use VHDL programming language, so this is the language which is supported by so many electronic design automation tools. Okay. So besides this also there are many number of EDA tools, but I have summarized some of them. So one is the from Altera, which is Quartus 2, which is used for synthesis and graphical simulation. Then from Xilinx, that is the ISE, XST for synthesis, and ISE simulator for simulation. So in our laboratory, we are going to use Xilinx ISE tool for VHDL programming. Now one more tool that is given by Mentor Graphics, which is Precision RTL and Leonardo Spectrum for synthesis as well as for simulation. Model Sim is there. Okay. From Synopsys or Simplicity, Design Compiler Ultra and Simplify, this is the tool. Then Pro or Premiere synthesis, and for VCS it is simulation tool. Okay. Then from Cadence, NCSim, that is the simulation tool which supports VHDL programming, and from Altec it is an Active HDL, which is again a simulation tool which supports VHDL programming. So here we are going to use Xilinx ISE, which supports for synthesis as well as simulation. Okay. So that tool we are going to use in our laboratory. Now let us move forward to the fundamental units of VHDL. Okay. So here there are units of VHDL programming that are composed of three sections. Okay, mostly. One is the library package declaration, then entity and architecture. Now this library or package declaration that contains a list of all libraries and respective packages needed in the design. Okay. So all libraries like IEEE and all that libraries and their packages, so standard logic packages that are present in this first unit. Then the second unit that is the entity. Okay. So which specifies mainly the circuit's IO ports, that means input and IO ports, and then generic constant. Now these generic constants, these are optional, they may not be present in each entity, but you can say that entity is the name of the design, or it is, you can say it as a nameplate of the design. Okay. So it will describe what are the inputs and what are the outputs, what are the types of these outputs, that means data types and all these will be decided in this or defined in this entity. Okay. And then the third unit, that is architecture, which contains the VHDL code proper, which describes how the circuit should function, okay, from which complete hardware is inferred. Okay. So that means here in this architecture we will have the VHDL code. Okay, so it will define how this circuit is going to function. So that means this architecture is the important unit of this fundamental units of VHDL. Okay, so here in this library there will be packages, then function, procedure and declaration that will be the part of this library declaration. Okay, so to make this package visible to the design, two declarations are needed. Okay? One for the library where the package is located, and the other use clause pointing to the specific package. So here let us discuss about this library and packages. So as in the earlier slide, in the diagram it was shown that there are different parts of this library, that is the set of packages, then components and then functions that simplify the task of designing hardware. Okay. These packages also provides collection of related data types and subprograms. So that means user defined programs that can be also used in the here, and then or vendor supported packages that also shown in this that can be also defined in the libraries. Okay. So whenever we are defining library, the syntax is like we have to use a keyword that is a library. Now in a VHDL you can see that all the keywords, okay, that means all these words that are present in the VHDL programming, that will be shown by blue color, and user defined words that are shown with a black color. Okay, so here whenever there you find a blue color word, that is the keyword. Okay, and whenever you will find a black color, then it is a user defined. That means we have to write there. Okay, so here you can see the example of this library, how to declare library. Okay, so here you can find that we have to first assign this library, use the keyword that is a library, and then we want to use IEEE library, so we have to mention this library. Okay, after that which package or from this library that we are going to use, that need to be mentioned, and that is why use keyword that is use. Okay, and then library name package. Okay, so first it will be come as syntax will be like library name, then package name, and then if it will follow by all. So that means whatever are the components present in that package, that we can add to the program. Okay, so here as we are using IEEE library with from the package, that is from that we are using standard logic 1164 package. So this can be written as a library IEEE, then use IEEE dot standard logic 1164 dot all, that means all the components, and then it will be followed by semicolon. Now in VHDL programming, this semicolon indicates end of the statement. Okay, so at the end of statement you have to write a semicolon. Okay. So now VHDL is not a case sensitive. Remember that it is not case sensitive. Just only sometimes or only is the standard logic that symbols that need to be case sensitive, but otherwise that are not case sensitive. Okay, so you have to remember this. So all of you got how to define library? Library declaration in the VHDL program. Okay. Now, the remaining components that are used in this VHDL, that are remaining units that are present in VHDL programming, that is the entities and architecture. Okay. So, in the next lecture, we are going to continue with how to write entity and how to write architecture in VHDL programming. Okay. Is there any doubt about this?